Welcome to another great class here at the Pastor's Pantry Cooking School. Thanks for joining us today. We have a wonderful class. Southern barbecue cooking is our class today, and we're excited to have you with us. Before we get started and get into the show, I want to share with you the gospel of good taste, something Joyce and I are very passionate about. There's two things that we want to remind you of. First, we believe that everything's about stewardship. James 1:17 tells us that every good and perfect gift is given to us by God, and food is no different. Food is a gift. And so we want to try to teach you some things about food today that'll help you make every dining experience great at your house. The second thing we're passionate about is that we believe God created us to be in community with one another. And nothing builds community better than food around the dining room table, eating together, sharing, fellowshipping with one another. We believe that when we eat together, it's a sacred place and a sacred time. Food's a great metaphor for community. And so we hope that by teaching you some things to enhance your food at home, you're going to be able to have a better community experience around your house. So yesterday, we had to prepare our pork for our pulled pork sandwiches. So we're going to show you how we prepared the pork and how we cooked it. And we're going to segue to that, and when we come back, we'll show you the finished product. Welcome to another great recipe here at the Pastor's Pantry Cooking School. Today, we're actually making one of my favorite smoking recipes. We're doing pulled pork sandwiches. And so we're starting out with about an 8.5, 9-pound pork shoulder. Okay? I've trimmed a little bit of the fat off. First thing we need to do is inject it with some apple juices. And you can do a lot of different juices. I've used pineapple before for Hawaiian recipes, and I've used cherry juice. I've even used Cheerwine Cola. Yeah, that's fun to do. So we're just going to go ahead and inject this in several places. I want to get quite a bit of liquid in there. So now we have that all in there. The next thing we need to do is we need to rub this down with yellow mustard. And we don't want to be stingy here. I've got about a cup of yellow mustard, and we just want to pour that, about half of that on there now. I'll go ahead and rub that down. I'm going to try to keep one dry hand here because I got to work with some rub here in a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and rub this down on top. We'll flip it over, put the rest of our mustard on there. Lathered up nice and good. You really won't notice this when you smoke it. It really just adds a great flavor to it. So if you've got somebody who's not a big fan of mustard, don't let that bother you. It's going to be okay. All right. So now we have about a cup of our Patter Fam pork rub. This is my favorite pork rub. One of the things that I found this goes really well. We put some seasonings here that goes well with pork chops, pork shoulder, any type of pork loin. It's just a great rub. And we carry all those rubs here at the store, so you can stop by and get those. Don't worry about that. But it's a great flavor. It's not too hot, not too spicy, but you'll really like this. So we have about a cup of that. And we're going to coat our pork shoulder pretty liberally. Again, you can only flavor the outside of the pork shoulder. So don't be stingy with that. Go ahead and coat it nice. Want to make sure that all of it gets covered on the outside. I'm going to do these ends a little bit. So we get all nice and coated. Put a little extra there. Save some for my basting sauce. Okay? So once you get it nice and coated, what we need to do next is we need to wrap this in cling wrap. And we're going to put it in the refrigerator overnight and let it begin to come back up to room temperature. Ideally, I would like for this to be about 45 to 50 degrees when I put it on the smoker on an internal temperature. Okay? So let me get that out of the way, because now we want to make the basting sauce for this. This is the basting sauce we're going to use for tomorrow. And so I just take a mason jar. I'm just going to eyeball this. So I've got a little bit of bourbon. We're going to put about 4 ounces of bourbon in here. We're going to put about 4 ounces of apple juice. And then we're going to go ahead and put in about 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of our pork rub in there. Okay, we have taken that pork off the smoker. We let it cool for about 30 minutes and then we pulled it. Now again, you've got to make sure it gets up to about 200 degrees or it won't pull very well. So get it up to 200, 205 and then pull it. And all we're going to do is we're going to put our Patter Fam apple pie barbecue sauce on this. We've got 2 bottles. We've already poured 1 on here. We're going to pour a second bottle on this. It's got a great apple pie flavor in the barbecue sauce. There's nothing like apple pie during the barbecue. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven just to keep it warm while we prepare the rest of our meal. All right, it's time to make my spicy coleslaw. Now, I know a lot of you out there are going, coleslaw, ugh. Okay, listen to me. You need to try this recipe. We've had so many people convert it over to coleslaw with this recipe. People said they would never eat coleslaw, and they try this recipe and they absolutely love it. So I want to teach you how to make my spicy coleslaw. So we have a little bit more than a cup of real mayonnaise in this bowl. Use the real mayonnaise, don't use Miracle Whip, it just doesn't taste the same. So we got about a cup of real mayo in here. And then to this we have a half a head of cabbage that's shredded and some grated carrots. So we're going to go ahead and get all that added into our mixing bowl. Now we're going to go ahead and get this all seasoned up, okay? Let me go through that whole recipe with you. We got a half a head of cabbage, a carrot grated, cup of mayonnaise, tablespoon of Dijon mustard, a half a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a half teaspoon of ancho chili powder, a half tablespoon of lemon juice, quarter cup of white sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and then my secret recipe is a teaspoon of celery seed. You're going to thank me later. Okay, so we're going to get our Dijon mustard added in here. Get all that in there. Don't leave any behind. Then we have our apple cider vinegar. We have our ancho chili powder. Now, ancho chili powder is a milder chili powder. If you want it hotter, go ahead and use regular chili powder. A little bit of lemon juice. We have our sugar. A little bit of salt, just to taste. A little bit of black pepper. I actually like quite a bit of black pepper in this. So we're going to put about 3/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper in there. And then the celery seed. And the reason I like to use celery seed, this is my little secret ingredient, is because celery seed, I think, is a wonderful complement to pork. Whether that's pork chops, pulled pork sliders, pork steak, doesn't matter. It is so good. There's just something to me about celery seeds and pork that tastes fantastic. So we just want to mix this together. We want to get everything well coated. Okay? So stir it around. Get everything nice and coated. I like my coleslaw a little creamier than most people do. So again, the recipe calls for a cup of mayonnaise. I put a little bit more, maybe a cup and a quarter in here. I like mine just a little bit more creamy. So you just make it the way you want to make it at home. If you like it a little drier, put a little less. If you like it a little creamier, put a little more. If you like it real creamy, put a little bit more. It's all good. Okay? So we now have this all well coated. So now we want to give those flavors a chance to get blessed, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the refrigerator for about an hour and let it chill out and get happy. This will keep in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days. Beyond that, I don't really like to eat it. It gets a little too runny for me at that point, but not a good couple of days, so you can even make this a day ahead. So we're going to get this in the refrigerator and let that chill out. Hey, now it's time for us to make our dessert. We've got a wonderful Blackberry Cobbler for you, and I love this because it's so easy. We don't have to do all the fancy doughs or anything else. Let me take a moment and tell you what's in our cobbler. We have 6 tablespoons of butter melted plus a little bit more for greasing the pan. 1½ cups plus 2 tablespoons of sugar divided. 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. 1 1/4 cups whole milk. 2½ cups of fresh or frozen blackberries. So we have our oven preheated to 350 degrees behind us. We have our cake pan. We've got a little bit of melted butter in the bottom of that just to kind of grease the bottom of the pan. In our bowl, we have all of our dry ingredients. We have a 1¼ cup sugar, our flour, and to that we're going to add our milk. But I want to go ahead and whisk these dry ingredients together. Always like to have them well blended first. And to that we're going to add our milk. Just whisk that around. We're going to go ahead and pour any excess butter in our pan right into our batter. You just want to get all that flour incorporated, get that broken up. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pour this into our 13 by 9 baking pan. Super easy recipe. And now we can add our blackberries. And we're just going to add these evenly. These were some frozen blackberries that we thawed out, so getting a lot of good juice out of there, which is going to be great for the cobbler. We just want to spread those out evenly. And what's going to happen is this dough, or this batter, is going to rise around the blackberries we have and make us a great cobbler. Now, to this, we want to sprinkle a little bit of sugar, about 1/4 cup, over the blackberries. Just sprinkle them over evenly. Okay. And then we're going to put this into our 350-degree oven for about an hour. But what we're going to do is we're going to check it after 15 minutes. We're going to bring it out, and then we're going to top it with some turbinado sugar, and then put it back in for the final 10 minutes until it finishes baking. All right, here's our finished product. Our cobbler's all done. And what we did is we took some turbinado sugar about 50 minutes in, and we sprinkled it over the top. That gives it a nice crystalline sugar topping. It's nice and crunchy on the top, but you can see it's beautiful. It's golden brown, and we're anxious. This will serve about 12 people. We're anxious to serve this for our class today. Hey, we've had a lot of fun making this Southern barbecue class for you today. I want to show you our finished product, the plating. So what we have is our coleslaw, our spicy coleslaw we talked to you about earlier. We have some roasted street corn with just a little bit of a compound butter. We made the compound butter by just taking some softened butter. We added parsley, ancho chili powder, and a little bit of cumin to that. Mix that together, put it in the refrigerator, and let that get solid once again. So we have that on top of there as well. We're going to finish topping that with a little bit of queso cheese, a little bit of cilantro, and then we have our pulled pork sandwich. I like mine with a little bit of coleslaw, so we're going to put a little bit of our coleslaw on there. Again, I have that celery seed in that coleslaw, and it's fantastic with pork. So I want to try that. Get a little bite here. You've got that apple pie barbecue that comes across really good right up front. And then we get that little bit of that creamy, yet tad bit spicy coleslaw. That's fantastic. So got that going on. I want to show you our dessert real quick. Our blackberry cobbler. There's the finished product. Doesn't that look great? That looks so yummy. So we want to dust that with a little bit of powdered sugar. And then I want to try a bite of this just to see how it tastes. Sweet, nice little berry flavor, nice little bit of crust. It's fantastic. Listen, go make this at home. When you do, post a picture out on our Facebook page and let us know how you did with it. If you have any questions, be sure and let us know about that as well. But we want to brag about you and everything that you're doing cooking our recipes. So God bless you all. Have blessed cooking in your kitchen. We'll see you next time.